Hey everyone, my name is Marcus and I have a story to tell. I've always been curious about stuff, always looking for new things to try. A couple of weeks ago, I stumbled upon this thing called lucid dreaming. Sounds kinda sci-fi, right? But it's basically when you're dreaming and you know you're dreaming and you can control what happens. Pretty wild. I thought it would be fun, like being in a video game or something. You know, fly around, meet some dream celebs, relive some cool memories, that sort of thing. But man, I was so wrong. What started as a fun experiment quickly turned into something darker. It got real messed up, real fast. Look, I'm gonna tell you all about it, and it's gonna sound crazy. But stick with me, all right? I promise you, by the end of this, you're gonna be sitting there with your jaw on the floor. I ain't exaggerating, just hear me out till the end. So a few nights after I learned about lucid dreaming, I decided to give it a shot. I read up on some techniques, watched a few YouTube vids, and felt like I had a decent grasp on it. I remember being super excited, thinking about all the cool stuff I'd do in my dream. Man, was I naive. The first few minutes, or at least what felt like minutes, were amazing. I was in this vibrant city, kinda like New York but with a twist. Floating cars, impossibly tall skyscrapers. You get the gist. I was on top of the world, literally. I remember jumping off a building and soaring through the sky, feeling the wind rush past me. It was pure freedom. But just when I thought I had it all figured out, that's when things took a dark turn. While I was flying, I spotted a figure on one of the rooftops. He looked out of place like a shadow in broad daylight. He was dressed in this old-school black trench coat and wore a matching hat, the kind you'd see in those old detective movies. The weird part? His face was, I don't know, obscured. Like it was hidden in shadows even though the sun was shining bright. I felt this weird chill, a sense of dread I can't quite explain. Curiosity got the better of me, so I decided to approach him, thinking maybe it's just a weird glitch in my dream. But as I got closer, I felt this overwhelming sense of danger. My heart was pounding, my palms sweaty. Everything in my gut told me to wake up, to get out of there, and that's exactly what I did. I forced myself to wake up, gasping for air, drenched in sweat. It was just a dream, I told myself, shaking off the fear. Just my imagination playing tricks on me. But man, that image of the man in the hat, it stuck with me. It felt real, you know? More real than any dream I've ever had. Still kinda rattled by that dream, I figured I'd do some digging the next day. I mean, it's the internet age, right? Someone out there must have had a similar experience. I wasn't expecting much, honestly. Just thought I'd find some dream interpretation sites or something. But what I found was way more than I bargained for. I stumbled upon this forum dedicated to lucid dreaming. Seemed innocent enough at first. People sharing tips, experiences, the usual stuff. But then I came across a thread titled The Hatman Encounters. Curiosity piqued, I clicked on it, and man, I was met with a slew of stories eerily similar to mine. People from all over, different backgrounds, different ages, they all spoke of this mysterious figure. The descriptions were chillingly consistent. A man in a black trench coat, wearing a hat, face hidden in shadows. Some folks even shared sketches and they all looked the same. The more I read, the more uneasy I felt. But it wasn't just the appearance that was consistent. The feeling of dread, the overwhelming fear, the urge to wake up, it was all there. And then I came across the legend. Now I don't know how true this is, but according to some old folklore, this Hatman wasn't just a figment of our imagination. Legend said that if you let your guard down, if you show fear, he can trap your consciousness in the dream realm. Forever. And what freaked me out even more, some users mentioned dreamers who'd been really active in the community, talking about their encounters with the Hatman. Then suddenly they'd stop posting. Someone would later find out they'd slipped into unexplainable comas. They'd be lying in hospital beds, seemingly peaceful, but just unreachable. I know it sounds straight out of a horror movie. But the more I read, the more I felt this sinking feeling in my stomach. I mean, it's one thing to have a nightmare, but to find out others had the same dream, and then to learn about the legend and the comas, it was a lot to take in. I decided to take a break from the whole lucid dreaming thing, thinking maybe distance would help. But boy was I wrong. That was just the beginning. The days that followed were rough. After the unsettling discoveries online and my own chilling encounters, I made the decision to quit lucid dreaming cold turkey. I naively believed that if I stopped attempting to control my dreams, the Hatman would maybe just disappear. But as it turns out, he wasn't done with me. Even without the lucid dreaming, he found his way into my regular dreams. It felt like he had honed in on my fear. Some nights I'd find myself in a maze or an endless hallway with him always a few steps behind. The worst part? His whispers. They were clear, and they echoed in the emptiness of the dream. "You can't hide forever, Marcus," he'd hiss. Or even worse, "Once I have you, you'll never wake up." Sleep, which was supposed to be a peaceful escape, became a battleground. Every evening I'd dread closing my eyes, anxious about what awaited in the darkness. I'd toss and turn, trying to stave off sleep for as long as I could. But when sleep finally claimed me, it was restless and filled with anxiety. Weeks of this took a toll on me. My days began to blur, the fatigue weighing me down. The lack of restful sleep made everything surreal. And the scariest part? My dreams started bleeding into reality. I'd be in the middle of mundane tasks like pouring cereal or answering a call, and I'd catch a glimpse of him, the Hatman, standing just outside my peripheral vision. A brief shadow, a fleeting reflection. I'd do a double take and he'd be gone. But the fear, the cold dread always remained. I couldn't discern if my exhausted mind was playing tricks on me, or if he was genuinely starting to manifest in the real world. Every night, his chilling promise echoed, "Soon you'll be mine." I was desperate, trapped between the terror of sleeping and the exhaustion of staying awake. As the weeks dragged on, the people around me began to notice the toll my sleep deprivation was taking. My eyes were perpetually bloodshot, my movements sluggish, and my temper short. Friends tried to reach out asking if everything was okay. Family members whispered behind closed doors, their concern palpable. I tried to brush it off, telling them I was just stressed or had a lot on my mind. But deep down, I knew I couldn't hide the truth forever. It was my sister Jenna who finally confronted me. She'd found one of the many forums I'd left open on my computer about the Hatman. We had a long heart-to-heart where I poured out everything. The lucid dreaming, the Hatman, the whispers, and my growing fear of sleep. Jenna listened patiently, her face a mix of worry and disbelief. A few days later, she and a couple of close friends staged what felt like an intervention. They'd set up an appointment with a psychologist, thinking maybe he could help me make sense of things. Reluctantly, I agreed to go, if only to put their worries to rest. Dr. Reynolds was a middle-aged man with a kind face and a reassuring demeanor. I recounted my experiences, expecting understanding or at the very least concern. Instead, he chuckled softly when I mentioned the Hatman. "Ah, the internet and its tales," he mused. He explained that the Hatman was likely just another internet creepypasta, a made-up horror story that had seeped into my subconscious. He diagnosed me with somnophobia, a fear of sleep. According to him, my mind had latched onto the Hatman legend as an explanation for my anxieties, creating a feedback loop of fear and sleep deprivation. He prescribed some sleep aids and suggested therapy to address the underlying anxieties. To him, it was all very straightforward. But to me, it felt dismissive, like he'd missed the point entirely. Leaving his office, I felt more isolated than ever. It was clear no one believed me. The world felt like it was closing in, the weight of my exhaustion and fear pressing down on me. Nights became even more dreadful, knowing that no one, not even professionals, understood the terror that awaited me in the dark. The Hatman's presence grew more potent, his whispers more frequent. "They won't save you," he'd taunt. "You're all alone." Desperation set in. I tried the sleep aids Dr. Reynolds prescribed, hoping for a peaceful night. But they only made things worse. The dreams became more vivid, the Hatman's grip tighter. I felt trapped, caught in a never-ending nightmare with no way out. Waking up each morning felt like I was clawing my way out of quicksand. It wasn't just the lethargy or the sensation of waking from a deep sleep. It was more sinister. Every ounce of my being felt weighed down, like I was trapped beneath a suffocating layer that didn't want to let go. The more I struggled, the tighter its grip seemed to get. After one especially grueling morning, where the line between the dream world and reality was almost indistinguishably blurred, I knew I had to ditch the sleep aids. They were making things exponentially worse, allowing the Hatman to tighten his noose around me. I discarded them, vowing to find another way. In my desperation to stay awake, I turned to every conceivable stimulant I could get my hands on. My kitchen began to resemble a mini pharmacy. Coffee was a given, pots constantly brewing, filling my apartment with its bitter aroma. Energy drinks were stacked in the fridge, their neon labels promising hours of alertness. But I didn't stop there. I started taking over-the-counter wakefulness pills and even managed to get a prescription for Adderall, citing focus issues. The combination of stimulants made my heart race and my hands shake, but they did their job. They kept me awake. My life became a dizzying cycle of stimulant highs and brief, terrifying moments of sleep. The fear of the Hatman consumed my every thought. Even when I was awake, I felt him lurking, always just out of sight. My friends and family watched with growing concern as I spiraled. They tried to intervene, suggesting therapy, sleep clinics, even a brief hospital stay. But how could I explain to them the true terror that awaited me every time I closed my eyes? Days blurred into nights and nights into days. My once structured life became chaotic, driven by a singular goal: evade the Hatman at all costs. Man, that evening was something else. I was trying to shake off the drowsiness, So I headed to the bathroom, splashed some water on my face, and hoped it'd snap me out of it. But when I looked up into the mirror, my heart just stopped. I saw him, the Hatman, standing right there in my bedroom, clear as day. Now his voice, damn, it's hard to describe. It was like gravel grinding together, deep and kinda echoing. Every word he spoke sent chills down my spine. And the smell, oh man, it was like burnt wood mixed with something metallic, almost like the after smell of a struck match, but way more intense. He stepped closer and the room just got colder. I wanted to bolt, but my feet wouldn't budge. Then, quicker than I thought possible, he reached out and grabbed my arm. His grip was like iron, cold and unyielding. He leaned in, his face still hidden in shadows, and whispered, "You're already mine." I panicked, shouted, and pulled away with all my might, lost my balance and fell hard on the bathroom tiles. Dazed, I looked around, ready to fight or flee, but he was gone. Just like that. No trace of him. My bedroom was empty, just like it always was. I sat there on the floor, trying to make sense of it all. Was he really here? Or was my tired brain playing some twisted prank on me? I couldn't tell. Everything felt so real, but then again, maybe I was just losing it. All I knew was I needed to stay awake, no matter what. Alright, so feeling completely lost and desperate, I figured my best bet was to go back to those lucid dreaming forums. I mean, that's where this whole Hatman mess kicked off for me. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there had found a way to deal with him. I knew it was a long shot, but it was all I had. Logging back in after so long was surreal. My inbox was flooded with messages from other users, some sharing their own terrifying encounters, others just looking for someone to talk to, someone who'd believe them. One post that stood out was by Shadow Chased. They talked about being in a maze, every turn leading to a dead end. With every wrong turn, the atmosphere grew colder, the shadows darker, and from these shadows the Hatman would emerge, whispering threats, his voice dripping with malice. "You can't escape, you're mine," he'd taunt. The dream would always end with the Hatman lunging at them, only for them to wake up gasping for breath. Another user, Midnight Walker, detailed a dream where they were chained in a dark room. The only source of light was a flickering bulb, casting eerie shadows on the walls, and in those oscillating shadows, the Hatman would appear, his coat flowing, hat casting a long shadow that seemed to stretch endlessly. He'd circle them, each time whispering, "Soon you'll be trapped here forever." The feeling of hopelessness, of impending doom, was palpable in their words. As I delved deeper into thread after thread, the weight of countless encounters pressed on me. But amidst this sea of despair, a post title caught my attention, making my heart skip a beat. "How to escape the Hatman, the only way I've found." With bated breath, I clicked, hoping to find some answers. So I clicked on this post, and it's this long, detailed account by a user named DreamGuardian23. The dude starts off by saying how he's been plagued by the Hatman for years, way longer than most of us on the forum. He'd tried everything from rituals to therapists, even moving houses multiple times, but nothing worked. The Hatman just kept coming, each dream more terrifying than the last. But then, he drops this bombshell. He found a way out, but it wasn't some magic spell or protective charm. No, it was something way more personal. He explained that the Hatman feeds off our fear and awareness. The more we're scared, the stronger he gets. And the more we know about him, the tighter his grip. Now, here's the messed up part. To get rid of the Hatman, you've got to introduce him to someone new, someone you care about. The idea is that you're essentially passing the curse onto someone else, diverting the Hatman's attention. It's messed up, I know. DreamGuardian23 wrote about how he taught his younger brother to lucid dream, all the while knowing what he was getting him into. And it worked. The Hatman left him alone, started haunting his brother instead. The guilt tore him apart, but he felt it was the only way out. The comments on the post were a mixed bag. Some users were outraged, calling him out for being selfish and heartless. Others, though, they were desperate. They wanted to know more, asked for specifics on how to do it. A few even admitted they'd try it if it meant escaping the Hatman's torment. I sat there staring at the screen, emotions swirling inside. Could I really do it? Could I really put someone else through this nightmare just to save myself? The weight of the decision pressed down on me, making it even harder to think straight amidst the sleep deprivation and fear. The days blurred together as the torment from the Hatman grew. Each night the dreams became more vivid, more terrifying. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, heart pounding, feeling as if I'd run a marathon. The idea of passing the curse on to someone else loomed over me. Who could I do that to? The guilt, the weight of that choice, it was crushing. Every face I saw, I'd wonder, could I? Should I? But then one evening, after another exhausting day of avoiding sleep, I dozed off on my couch. What followed was the most hellish experience I've ever had. The dream started in a vast, dark void, the silence deafening. Then the cold began to seep in, a biting, gnawing cold that seemed to pierce my very soul. From the shadows, the Hatman emerged, his coat billowing, the brim of his hat casting his face in an impenetrable shadow. "Running won't save you," he hissed, his voice like the grinding of stone on stone. The void around us seemed to echo with his laughter, a cruel, mocking sound that sent shivers down my spine. He moved closer, the distance between us shrinking rapidly, his tall, imposing figure overshadowing me. "You can't escape, you're mine," he taunted, reaching out with hands that felt like icy tendrils, wrapping around me, pulling me into the darkness. I tried to scream, to fight back, but the void swallowed my voice, my resistance feeling feeble against his overpowering presence. The torment went on, every second feeling like an eternity, the Hatman's whispers and taunts echoing in my mind, driving me to the brink of madness. When I finally jolted awake, gasping for air, heart racing, the room was bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun. Glancing at the clock, I realized I'd only been asleep for 15 minutes. The intensity, the sheer terror of that brief nap was overwhelming. I couldn't go on like this. The Hatman's grip was tightening and I felt on the verge of breaking. In that moment of sheer desperation, the decision became clear. I had to pass on the curse. I couldn't bear another encounter like that. The guilt, the moral dilemma, all of it took a backseat to the primal need to escape the relentless terror of the Hatman. So in the midst of this chaos, there was Alex, my best bud since forever. We'd been through thick and thin together, from scraped knees in our childhood to late-night heartbreaks in our teens. I thought about our bond, our years of friendship, and the weight of what I was about to do bore down on me. But the terror of the Hatman was too much, and in my desperate state, the need to escape it overpowered every other emotion. I invited Alex over, pitching the idea of lucid dreaming to him. I hyped up how awesome it was, how you could control your dreams and experience whatever you wanted. I added almost as an afterthought, "Oh, and there's this character some people see, the Hatman, but, you know, he doesn't really affect everyone. Some folks even think he's kinda cool." I tried to make it sound casual, but my voice wavered a bit. Alex, being the ever-cynical skeptic, just laughed it off. Man, that sounds like some online myth. You really believe in that stuff? He seemed more intrigued by the idea of controlling his dreams than any potential threat from the Hatman. After a long evening of catching up and sharing some laughs, he decided to give lucid dreaming a shot that very night. As he left, there was a pit in my stomach, the guilt gnawing at me. But another part of me, the desperate, terrified part, clung to the hope that this might be my ticket out of the nightmare. As the evening wore on, the weight of what I'd done, the guilt, the fear, it all bore down on me. But more than anything, there was exhaustion. I hadn't had a proper sleep in weeks. Every fiber of my being was screaming for rest. The couch seemed to beckon, promising a few moments of respite. I thought about the Hatman, about Alex, about the potential consequences of my actions, but in that moment, the overpowering need for sleep drowned out everything else. Maybe, just maybe, the curse had been passed on. Maybe I'd finally get a break from the relentless torment. With that faint glimmer of hope, I let myself drift off, sinking into the cushions, letting the darkness take me. For the first time in weeks, sleep was peaceful, deep, undisturbed. No shadowy figures, no chilling whispers, just blissful oblivion. I was jolted awake by the shrill ring of my phone. Blinking against the morning light, I reached out, groggily answering. It was Alex. His voice, usually so confident, so skeptical, was tinged with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Dude, you won't believe it. I controlled my dream last night. It was unreal. But I also saw that Hatman guy, just standing there watching me. It was eerie, man, but kind of thrilling too. Hearing his voice, the reality of what I'd done came crashing down. But there was also relief. For the first time in what felt like forever, I'd slept without the Hatman's presence. Maybe I was free. But at what cost? Days turned into a blur as the weight of my actions began to press down on me. The relief I felt from escaping the Hatman's clutches was overshadowed by the guilt of what I had done to Alex. Every time we met, I could see the change in him. The vibrant, skeptical guy I knew was fading, replaced by a hollow, sleep-deprived version. The dark circles under his eyes deepened, his laughter became rare, and he seemed perpetually on edge. One evening, as we sat across from each other in a dimly lit cafe, he looked me straight in the eye, anger and betrayal evident in his gaze. "He knows, Marcus. The Hatman knows what you did," he whispered, his voice trembling. "He told me everything. How you passed this curse onto me. How could you? Your best friend?" Alex looked like he was about to explode. "Dude, this is on you!" he yelled. "You got me into this mess with that creepy hat guy." I wanted to explain, but the words just wouldn't come out. The playful glint that used to be in Alex's eyes was gone. He didn't stick around to hear me out. The next day, feeling a mix of guilt and desperation, I shot Alex a text. "Hey, I heard there might be a way to get rid of the Hatman, but it's kinda messed up. You'd have to pass him to someone else." Days ticked by, and Alex stayed silent. Out of nowhere, I got a call from one of our buddies. They told me Alex was in the hospital, deep in a coma. Doctors had no clue what was going on. Visiting Alex became my daily thing. Each time I'd chat, hoping somehow he'd wake up and respond. But nothing changed. During one of those visits, the room got super cold. I felt like I wasn't alone. I turned and thought I saw this tall shadow with that freaky hat. My heart was racing. Was he actually here, or was I just losing it from all the stress? Every time I saw Alex lying there, I felt sick to my stomach. It was like a constant punch in the gut, reminding me of what I'd dragged him into. Sleep was a joke. I'd keep hearing stuff around the house, and I couldn't shake the feeling he was around. Each day I kept wondering, was this some sick game? Was the Hatman playing both of us? Man, if I could turn back time, I would. I wish I'd never heard of lucid dreaming or the Hatman, but here we are. Alex, stuck in a place no one understands, and me living with this heavy guilt every day. People always say, be careful what you wish for. And you know, they're right. I wanted some adventure, some excitement, but not like this. Never like this. So if you're reading this, thinking about diving into lucid dreaming or exploring the unknown, just think twice. Some doors, once opened, can't be closed. And trust me, you don't want to meet what's on the other side. Stay Stay safe out there. Marcus. Thank you for listening. I appreciate every single one of you. If you can take a second to drop a like or subscribe, it really puts a smile on my face. And if you have any ideas for videos you want to see, let me know in the comments. Good night and beware the Hatman.